hand up. Let's just do this in an orderly way.
Please.
Please.
Walk on out the door.
My question is, have the 849 ballots that were thrown out, have those individuals been notified that their ballot did not count, that their vote did not count, and the reason why?
Not yet. We're going to begin subpoenaing.
Can the board direct the staff to send a letter to each one of them informing them that their vote did not count and the reason why that vote did not count? Can that happen? 849 letters going out.
No.
And can the board direct that?
The law requires a free access line to be set up so the voter can determine whether or not their provisional ballot was counted, and if it was not counted, the reason why it was not counted. That free access line was in existence sometime after the election. I think it's still up, is it not?
Voters are able to do that. We don't affirmatively do it because the law
That's
doesn't provide for it. It provides for people to call us. All right. Yes, sir. Mr. Smith.
Well, let me just suggest that we continue to stay on the line of questioning of Councilmember Cecil Thomas, that we assure that the staff has that line open as we move forward in this process. I think the only way we know that happens, and that's if this board votes on it, so that in directing them to make sure that that line is open, that voters can call and engage the Board of Elections to know. Now, the most important thing, I think, in this process are the voters, not the poll workers. So as you all speak up for the poll workers, we're concerned about the voters.
That's right.
And that as Americans, right, the most important thing we have that makes us equal is our vote. Now, to the gentle lady to my left who asserted that there possibly is a problem with staff members, as the president of the Cincinnati NAACP, who we've monitored elections for decades, right, we have no problem with the staff at the Board of Elections. And we believe that they conduct themselves in a very honorable way and always have been.
On both sides, right?
On both sides. So we don't have a problem there. That is not our issue. My question to the board, though, is if someone is traveling internationally and the Board of Elections sends a ballot to that person internationally, and they send it back to the Board of Elections, but there was an error on this side in a presidential election, is that entire ballot discarded? Here's my question. So if someone is traveling abroad and they're a military and they cast a ballot, but that ballot that they cast, when it comes back in, the wrong precinct, the wrong ballot was sent to them. They send it back. Is that entire ballot discarded, or do you count the presidential vote? Is my question.
Go ahead, Sal, you answer.
Yes, you count the presidential vote.
Excuse me?
You do count the presidential vote.
Okay,
That's our error.
so on record, we count the presidential vote in that situation. Now, in this situation, we have people that came to a poll where there were 4 precincts. However, this is a Hamilton County race. So everybody at that precinct had the race of Hunter and Williams on it. There was no inconsistency in what we're discussing today. Now, we give more genuflect to a person who's traveling internationally than we do someone in a neighborhood who shows up at the right church but votes at the wrong pew. Am I understanding that?
Yeah, but there's an important part that you've left out, and that is that state law guides what we do with international ballots. It guides what we do on precinct voting. State law, so you all understand, state law says that if you don't vote in the right precinct, your vote doesn't count. I didn't make that rule. Our legislature did. Kim Blackwell did, the previous director, but that's the law as it existed coming into this process.
That's not entirely the law, because the law is also defined by even before this controversy, the law is also defined by federal court decision. And there had already been one federal court directive decision that said that if you came to the right polling place but voted in the wrong precinct and only used as your identification the last 4 digits of your social security number, Then the board staff was to determine whether or not poll worker errors caused that vote to be cast in the wrong precinct. That's the rest of what the law was before this lawsuit. It is my hope that this lawsuit will result in a correction of the law so that we can inquire clearly into poll worker errors for anyone involved in the right church but at the wrong pew.
Okay, hold on, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
As you subpoena people here, I'm asking the board to consider cost of parking. Because many of our poll workers that do this work, and I say all of them, and I don't want to have a generalization around it, but they might not be the wealthiest people. And parking costs money. So I'm suggesting that the board take that under consideration as we subpoena 2,000 people and ask them to come down and park. And it could be simply allowing the meters around us to be free for that time period, because people here are walking out and leaving and trying to pay, but that we try to get some cooperation around this process. I just want to continue to remind the board that it is very difficult to hear you. I'm raising my voice so everyone can hear me. So as we're going through these proceedings and you are questioning people, right? Because some people that come down don't have the best hearing, that's a generalization. But that we're using those mics to make sure that people are able to engage you and we're able to hear you. We might need to bring extra speakers in and those kinds of things. And my final point is I have a radio show today at 5 o'clock. I want to offer an open invitation for either side, both sides, to at least call in and explain what's happening. So that's an open invitation to both sides. That's from 5 to 7 today. I like to think that I have a popular show. That might all be in my ego. But the reality is at 5 to 7, I'll be on the air, and I would like to give a balanced interpretation of what is happening.
Thank you. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Your name?
I just have a quick question.
Your name?
My name is Rosalind Folks. I live in Cincinnati, and I'm a registered voter. My question is this. Now, your motion concerning the subpoena of the poll workers, I think there's a universe of board staff who are hired on a temporary basis. They field calls from precinct, poll workers. If there's a question, I think they're here at the Board of Elections to help them work through any problems in the field. Now, are they also included in your subpoena? Because it seems to me that those temporary workers who are based down here might be critical in your investigation. I just wondered if your motion covered them, and if not, could you move to cover them as well? Because I think they might be very important to the fullest information that you can get, other than getting into the process and then deciding, oh, we forgot to include the temporary employees at the board who help us during election cycles to take questions from the field.
My original motion did not. It did include other people that were at the board locations. It could suggest. At this point, I'm not going to make the motion to add them. Something tells me we've got plenty of time to continue to figure out how to move this investigation along. But I appreciate the suggestion. Something that maybe we do down the, as we advance. We've already got our hands full with 2024, but I think it's a fair suggestion. I appreciate you making it. Yes, ma'am.
Marsha Ogletree, are you all going to, is there going to be a list of standard questions that you're going to ask each worker and then decide after talking with them, this one, there's a possibility that there could have been, how are you going to come up with your answer?
We have to figure that out. I mean, we're figuring that out as we go along, and something tells me that we may get further direction from our boss, the Secretary of State. I welcome that. So we don't have to be, quibbling about it, but the issue is that there is not yet, because we've never done this in the history of voting that I know about here.